Hello friends, welcome to Exam Decoder. We are continuing with PT365 VISIONIAS module of Environmental Science. We have already completed the biodiversity and currently we are in the last part of this climate change. In this video, we will cover organizations in news. The first organization is UNEP, that is United Nations Environment Program. The second organization is World Meteorological Organization, and third is International Cryosphere Climate Initiative. Starting with organizations in news, the first organization here is United Nations Environment Program, that is UNEP. Before going to this detail given in this PT365, first look into this. This information I have taken from the UNEP site. Just look into it. The United Nations Environment Program, that is UNEP, is the leading global authority on the environment. UNEP mission is to inspire, inform and enable the nations and people to improve their quality of life without compromising that of future generations. UNEP mission is to inspire, inform and enable nations and people to improve their quality of life without compromising that of future generation. For over 50 years, UNEP has worked with the governments, civil society, the private sector and UN entities to address humanity's most pressing environmental challenges, from restoring ozone layer to protecting the world's seas and promoting the green inclusive economy. It means it is working on the every area where environment is facing challenges. Next it is given, UNEP is driving transformational change by drilling down on the root causes of the triple planetary crisis. The first here is the crisis of climate change. Second is the crisis of nature, land and biodiversity loss. And third here is the crisis of pollution and waste. This is good point. You can use it in men's also. Like if you want, you can show it through a triangle by showing different planetary crisis. And here you can write crisis of climate change. Here the crisis of nature, land and biodiversity loss. And here you can write the crisis of pollution and waste. If the question is coming with the related issues, you can explain there are different planetary crises, and explaining this crisis you can go ahead with the solution. Coming back, here it is, UNEP's work is focused on helping countries transition to low carbon and resource efficient economies, strengthening environmental governance and law, safeguarding ecosystem and providing evidence based data to inform policy decisions. Through cutting edge science, coordination and advocacy, UNEP supports its 193 member states to achieve the sustainable development goals and live in the harmony with nature. So the sustainable development goals, that is for 2016 to 30, there are 17 goals to be achieved by 2030, is also monitored by this UNEP. Coming to the details given here, starting with the headquarter is in the Nairobi, Kenya. This is UNEP is the International Environmental Authority engaged in establishing a global environmental agenda and promoting the efficient implementation of the Sustainable Development Program. The genesis is established in 1972 following UN Conference on Human Environment. That is the first environmental conference. This is held in Stockholm in 1972. So the origin is the Stockholm Conference of 1972. Okay, the member is 193 countries, UN member states including India. This approved the program of the work and budget. The funding relies on the voluntary contribution for over 95% of the funding needs. Environmental fund is UNEP's core fund. It hosts and secretariats of various conventions and entities like Intergovernmental Science Policy Platform on Biodiversity and Ecosystem Services, that is IPBES, and also Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, IPCC. It was actually hosted by UNEP and World Meteorological Organization. This IPCC is important. You should know it is jointly by UNEP and WMO, that is World Meteorological Organization. Common carbon metric is also supported by UNEP and has developed for assessing the carbon footprint of building operations around the world. You know the term carbon footprint. This is actually the total amount of the greenhouse gases that are emitted directly or indirectly by the human activities. Here it is given the major global multilateral agreements under UNEP. These all agreements are important. You should see in detail about these agreements. Okay. The first here is CITES. UNEP was established in 1972, which we have already seen, and the first agreement come under this is in 1973, that is CITES. CITES is actually the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora. The second is in 1979, that is Convention on Conservation of Migratory Species of Wild Animals, that is CMS, or it is also called Bonnacher Convention. Next is one of the most important, that is Vienna Convention in 1985 for the protection of ozone layer. After this convention, only Montreal Protocol was signed in 1987. Next is Basel Convention on the Control of Transboundary Movement of Hazardous Waste and Their Disposal in 1989. The fifth convention is the Convention of the Biological Diversity 1992. This comes under the Earth Summit of 1992 in Rio de Janeiro. Next is Rotterdam Convention on the Prior Informed Consent Procedure for certain hazardous chemical and pesticides in international trades in 1998. Next is Stockholm Convention on the POP, that is Persistent Organic Pollutants, in 2001, and next is Minamata Convention on the mercury, that is in 2013. Minamata is placed in the Japan where mercury pollution is observed, and for that Minamata Convention was signed in 2013. I am not going into the details of each and every one, but you should see the details. Next is report and indices. First is emission gap report of 2024. It actually assesses the difference between the greenhouse gas emission the countries are expected to produce and the emission level needed to limit the global warming below this 1.5 degrees C as agreed under the Paris Agreement. So let's see. It tracks the gap between where the global emissions are heading with the current country commitments and where the ought to be limit warming to 1.5 degree. Key findings are greenhouse gas emissions rose to a new high of 57 gigaton of CO2. India ranks third in the total greenhouse gas emission after China and USA. Next is the adaptation gap report of 2024. Adaptation gap is the difference between actually implemented adaptation and a societally set goal, reflecting resource limitations and competing priorities. What are the key findings here? Adaptation gap is estimated at $187 to $359 billion per year. So this much amount is needed to fulfill the gap in the adaptation to the environment. International Public Adaptation Fund flows to the developing countries increased to $27.5 billion in 2022. Next is Global Status Report for Building and Construction. This is an UNEP report published jointly with Global Alliance for Public and Construction, that is Global ABC. Alliance for Building and Construction is ABC. It is founded in COP21. It is leading global platform for all built environment stakeholders committed to zero emission, efficient and resilient building and construction sector. There are some key findings in the Global Status Report of Building and Construction. Building and construction accounts for 21% of the global greenhouse gas emission. India is attributed to 40% of its CO2 emissions to the buildings. Next is Navigating New Horizon, a foresight report. This identifies the various critical global shifts which accelerate the triple planet crisis of pollution, biodiversity loss and climate change. First is pollution, second is biodiversity loss, and third is climate change. What are the key findings? Global poly crisis. That is, multiple shocks such as war, extreme weather, pandemics, etc., faced today are interwoven and are consequence of globalization. This is actually good statement you can use in the men's also. That is global polycrisis, that is multiple shocks such as the war, extreme weather, pandemic, etc. faced today are interwoven and are consequences of globalization. Next is World Meteorological Organization. World Meteorological Organization WMO is a specialized agency of the United Nations which is responsible for promoting international cooperation in atmospheric science, climatology, hydrology and geophysics. That is atmospheric science, climatology, hydrology and geophysics. Okay, so WMO is a specialized agency of UN and UN's authoritative voice on the state of Earth's atmosphere, its interaction with the oceans and the climate. That's why I told you that is atmospheric sciences, climatology, hydrology and geophysics. It was established in 1950, replaced the then International Meteorological Organization which is established in 1873. There are 193 members. India is also included in that. There are different reports and indices published by WMO. The first here is a State of the Global Climate Report 2023. I have changed the data with the 2024 data. The key findings, here it should be 2024. I have changed this. This is 2024. The key findings here are 2024 was the warmest year on record. Actually in the 2023 it was given 2023 was the warmest year. Now it is 2024 which is the warmest year on record. The global average near surface temperature is 1.5 degrees C above the pre-industrial baseline, which was actually target in the Paris climate to keep the temperature below 1.5 degrees C. Greenhouse gas levels, surface temperatures, ocean heat and acidification, etc. reached record high. Next is WMO ozone and UV bulletin. This report actually shows the success of Montreal Protocol. Actually, the ozone layer is recovering. The recent reports indicates that there is full recovery to 1980 level is expected by 2066 over the Antarctica and by 2045 over the Arctic region and by 2040 for the rest of the world. Means the main date is 2040 for the rest of the world. Of course there is more depletion towards the Antarctic and the Arctic region, so it will be recovered in Arctic in 2045 and all over the world is 2066. So ozone layer is recovering with the ozone depleting substance decreasing. This shows the result when the global communities come together and work for the common goal. So ozone depletion is now recovering. This is the great achievement for the world community and the efforts done by them. Next is Air Quality and Climate Bulletin. This report on the state of air quality and its connections to the climate change. The key findings here are global particulate matter hotspot that includes agricultural areas in Central Africa, Pakistan, India, China and Southeast Asia. The other reports published by WMO, World Meteorological Organization, is State of Global Water Resource Report, Global Annual 2, Decadal Climate Update for 24 to 28, Greenhouse Gas Bulletin, etc. Coming to the next topic, this is International Cryosphere Climate Initiative. This International Cryosphere Climate Initiative was actually established in 2009, is actually a non-governmental science-based organization which focuses on raising awareness and driving climate action to protect cryosphere. Cryosphere is actually the frozen part of the earth such as glaciers, snow, sea ice, permafrost and ice sheets. It operates as two entities, the global organization, non-profit organization in USA based in Burlington, Vermont, ICCI, that is International Cryosphere Climate Initiative, Europe, charitable organization under the Swedish regulation based on Stockholm, Sweden. I have already discussed that it is founded in 2009 to address the impacts of the climate change on the cryosphere, that is the frozen region of the earth. The objective is to advocate for reducing the cryosphere warming, to mitigate global climate risks including glacial melt, sea level rise, permafrost thaw. It works with the governments, NGOs and the climate organizations such as UNFCCC, IPCC, etc. The report published by it is State of Cryosphere 2024, Lost Ice, Global Damage. It assesses the current state of cryosphere, that is frozen part, and its response to the climate change. The key findings here is ice shelves in the northern Greenland have lost 35% its total volume since 1978, and the rate of global sea level rise has doubled in the last 30 years, which is actually the prime concern area of the greenhouse gas emission and the increase in the global warming. ICCI is actually important because melting in the cryosphere regions, like you can say in Arctic, Himalayas or Antarctic, has irreversible consequences and can accelerate the global climate tipping points. ICCI actually ensures that these issues remain visible and urgent addressed on the international stages. So with this we have completed our climate change, and the next topic starts with the pollution. In the next video we will see the air pollution. Thanks for watching the video. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share it with your friends and hit the subscribe button for more content like this.